My stars! They shrunk Grimlock! This is embarrassing. Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here. We're continuing our look into Legacy Evolution with the third of the Dinobot figures to be released, Grimlock. Now, of course, not too long ago, back in March, we recently re-reviewed the Dinobots, but their Power of the Primes versions. Since for those of you who are new to the channel, we are going to cover the new Volcanicus as he gets slowly released. So now we're about halfway through it with the release of Grimlock. Grimlock, of course, on the original Volcanicus formed the body. But since they've now made Volcanicus into 6 Dinobots, Grimlock gets to be a leg. Almost makes it sound like I'm comparing him to a fried chicken. But at any rate, this is the core class version of Grimlock. And it does its best to try to look close to how we all know and look at Grimlock. But of course, it's changed up differently to also make him a micro combiner. But all in all, it doesn't look too bad. But again, like I said on the earlier videos, this is more of an experiment by Hasbro, because they've not done a core class combiner, so I'm hoping that it will turn out well, because I would like to see more of them done. The combiners, especially in today's market, are prohibitively expensive. Plus, since they're also being released in a staggered schedule, it takes the better part of a year or more to get all of them, and the anticipation can really get to you after a while. So I know I was going through a lot of that trying to get the last one, Menasor. And we can always hope that Hasbro will do a gift set of them, even if it's in a variant color, but so far there's not been any announcement that Menasor will get a new version released. So I'm kind of hating that, especially when you consider the amount of funds that has to be spent on them. But we've already talked about that, so let's get on with Grimlock here. We do a history about Grimlock, but as I stated earlier, we already did one a few months ago, so if you're interested in the history of Grimlock, like with many of the other Dinobots, there'll likely be something up here in the corner that'll let you go see the old video. I encourage you to check it out. As for accessories here, Grimlock does include one, and it is this dual blastered gun, which will also double as part of his body when he's in dinosaur mode. And in ways, it is a holdover to 2 of Grimlock's Generation 1 figures. The original Grimlock toy did have a dual-barreled gun on it, and the second version of Grimlock, the Pretender Grimlock, it had a weapon that doubled as the dinosaur tail. So in many ways, intentional or not, this is a callback to both of those weapons. So that is a nice touch by Hasbro. It's just hard to say if it was intentional or not. Well, even Grimlock's so surprised he passes out from it. Alright, let's take a look at Grimlock's articulation. And we can turn the head from side to side. Also want to point out how his head is more done like his cartoon appearance, because he has blue eyes. The original toy had red eyes. So that's again another nice callback. His arms can be raised out about so far, and while they can rotate all the way at the shoulder, the kibble on his back does tend to get in the way of it. Grimlock, unfortunately, does not have bending elbows, but his arms can fold inwards a bit, so he can come somewhat close to having G.I. Joe battle grip. But he does have articulation here at his wrist. His wrist can be turned, but that's more for use for transforming him than anything else. Grimlock can be twisted at his hips, so he has a few dance moves going there. You can spread his legs apart into a full splits. He unfortunately does not have much of a thigh cut, as you can see here. His legs can be bent at the hip just above 90 degrees, and you can bend him at the knee 90 degrees. So he's got about par for the course for a core class figure, maybe a little less. Alright, we're going to transform Grimlock into his dinosaur form. And as we stated in the earlier videos, we're not going to do the conversion for Volcanicus this time around. We will save that for when we get to Volcanicus, since by then he'll be pretty easy. It'll be a way to extend that video a little bit. Alright, first thing we got to do is we bring his arms up a bit. And then we got to turn his hands at the wrist, bring the claws forward. And then we're going to raise up all this stuff on his back. And then you'll come up here to these wing panels, and we're going to rotate them downwards. Get them lined up over his robot head and close them up. And as we turn him around, we're going to push the legs together. Should snap in just like that. And then we will fold him up like so. Because we got to get the thing to fold up and onto his back. But of course, something else we got to do that they don't show in the instructions, this little post here also needs to be folded up and in so it's not in our way. Once we've got that connected, then you can take the gun, and it will attach right in here like that. And then basically we straighten out the legs and adjust the head. And then there we have it. Grimlock is in his Tyrannosaurus Rex form. Which unfortunately the articulation will mostly be centered on the head and the legs. You can rock the head up and down a bit, so Grimlock can rock his head like he's saying yes. And of course we can move the legs about a fair bit. And that's really all we can do. So, unfortunately with my thoughts, this version of Grimlock is a little disappointing in the way that it's set up. But, again, we also have to take into consideration that he's also going to be part of a combiner. And since this is an experiment, we should give it a little bit of leeway, since we have yet to see the full final product. So there has not yet been a picture of how Volcanicus will look when all 6 of the mini Dinobots are put together. So we have to reserve a little bit of our judgment. Because we do want to hope for the best, but we do have to prepare for the worst. And unfortunately, with things about Grimlock here, that's going to be a little difficult, since this figure does not look the best. The robot was okay, but the dinosaur doesn't really look that great. So, I mean, we got the oversized legs really stick out. And the gun, as you can clearly see, isn't painted to match the dinosaur body, so it looks off. But then again, it can get a little bit of a pass since the Generation 1 Grimlock, it had gray plastic for the body, and the tail was done, the tip of the tail was done up in chrome. So, I guess that's the look they're trying to go for with this. So, you know, that can probably slide a little bit too, you know, the more I think about it, but overall, I'm not as impressed with how Grimlock turned out, but I don't want to go out of my way and say that it's totally bad, since, this is part of an experiment, and I am curious to see how it will turn out. At any rate, that's my review of the Legacy Evolution version of Grimlock. I hope you all enjoyed it. And please do remember that if you like the content we feature on this channel, please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. This is Sparkster1701 saying I will catch you all later.